Well, I have seen Novocaine early, and this is probably the most fun you will have in a theater all year. At least it was for me. So let's talk about it. But as always, before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Aaron, and I talk all things movies and TV, but really mostly movies. So if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. It would be greatly appreciated on my end. Now, of course, I'm going to keep this movie review spoiler free because this movie isn't out yet, so no need to worry about spoilers in this review. But anyways, without further ado, let's talk about Novocaine. Now, this is one of those movies I was definitely looking forward to this year, and it's safe to say I had an absolute blast watching this thing. So in this, we follow Jack Quiad, who plays a man who can't feel pain, which is actually a real condition, believe it or not. But when the girl he likes gets taken hostage after a bank robbery, he goes after her to save her. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is easily Jack Quiad. Now, this movie was a lot of fun to watch, but a big reason for that is because of Jack Quiad. He is absolutely nailed playing this lovable character with a big heart that's just so easy to cheer for. But where this movie really draws you in is the fact that his character, whose name is Nate by the way, is just a normal dude who clearly has no idea what he's doing when it comes to saving someone, but he can't feel pain. So that just makes all the fighting and action scenes in this thing that much more hilarious. But anyways, Jack Quiad is the star of the show, and in my opinion, he makes this movie so much better. And on top of that, he has really good chemistry with the rest of the cast as well, who also did a really good job. Him and Amber Midthunder were good together, and they were believable as a couple, which gave this movie a little bit of emotional weight and allowed us as an audience to get invested in what he was fighting for. Then we also have Jacob Batalon, who did a good job as well, and he played the friend of Jack Quaid's character, and he served as the comedic relief in a movie that was honestly already pretty funny to begin with. There was also Nicholson, who was the son of Jack Nicholson, and he played a pretty solid villain as well. So yeah, this entire cast did a good job in my opinion and really made this movie fun to watch. Next up for the positives is the action. Now, they did not hold back on the blood and gore at all during any of these action scenes. And honestly, this is probably the most gruesome movie I have seen all year. They really played into the fact that Jack Quiad couldn't feel pain as he kind of stumbled his way through all of these action scenes while also experiencing some of the most painful, well, not to him because obviously he can't feel pain, but for us, some of the most painful things that I have ever seen. But I loved every second of it. There is even a Home Alone type house in this movie that's pretty much a death trap, but it is probably my favorite sequence throughout this entire film. This movie sells itself on its action, and I thought it absolutely delivered. Plus, if you love blood and gore, then you are going to absolutely love the action scenes in this. And for the final thing I liked about this movie, I have to say the humor. This is one of those movies that's just gonna keep you chuckling all the way through. A lot of the humor obviously came from Jack Quiad in these fight scenes when he was saying these little one-liners during those, but really this humor came from all around. As I said before, Jacob Batalon did a good job and served as a source of comedic relief, and honestly also Nicholson had his humorous moments as the villain as well. I would say in terms of our main cast, everyone got their time to shine in terms of the comedic element of this film, and it all felt natural, it never felt forced, and it really added to the fun element of this film as well. Moving on to the so-so, and the first thing I have here is that this was pretty predictable. Now, I will admit that there is a moment in this film that I did not expect at all, and I even think it made the story a little bit better when it happened. But after we got past that moment, things were pretty easy to predict, especially as we approached the end of this movie. I mean, I even found myself calling out a few moments before they happened in this thing because this does get pretty cliche and formulaic. Now, it didn't take away from the fun of the movie at all, but it is something that I noticed. Next up for the so-so is that we did have some side characters that were just okay in my opinion, and I might go as far to say as this movie probably would have been completely fine without them because they were pretty underdeveloped in my opinion. So outside of our three main characters, we also had these two cops that were also on the case, and they tried to give one of these cops some depth, but it just didn't really work work, in my opinion. It was one of those cases where they mentioned something about their character at the very beginning of the film and then tried to come back to it at the very end, which is fine, but at the end of the day, I could just care less what happened to those cops in the movie. They were fine as characters, but I just don't think they added much to this film, and that's why I say I think this movie would have been totally okay without them. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here, and this is kind of expected with this movie, but you are going to have to suspend your disbelief just a little bit because, man, some of the injuries that Jack Quaid's character gets in this movie will definitely have you asking the question of how is this guy not dead? Like, I get that he can't feel pain, but that doesn't mean that he's not hurt. And there was a couple of injuries that he sustained that kind of went unaddressed in this movie, and in the back of my head, I couldn't help but think, like, man, there's no way he is not bleeding out right now. I mean, they even kind of make a joke at the end of the movie about how many injuries he sustained, which was kind of funny. So at the end of the day, look, it's not a big deal at all. It was just something that I couldn't help but think about while watching this movie and watching him sustain these just absolute gruesome injuries. But at the end of the day, this movie still rocks. Jack Quaid leads the way with a fun supporting cast, and the action and the humor really make this movie a blast to watch. So yes, I would 100% recommend this movie. Those are my thoughts on Novocaine. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.